Today is January 19th, 2024, and welcome to the 424th episode of the So Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway, and I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello, thank you for joining me today. As per usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I talk about tidbits, news items, industry happenings, and basically anything randomly game adjacent that has caught my eye in the last 7 days. A couple things on the agenda today. Let's see here. First off, the Switch 2 announcement trailer just dropped. Well, just dropped as I'm recording this. Not a lot of detail. It was kind of a quickie, brief look. If I had to summarize it, I think it just looks like the Switch, but bigger and better. And for me, that's fine. I'm sure we're going to get more details later on. And a lot of people in the industry are thinking that Nintendo did not plan on making, a trailer or official information available so soon. But there were a lot of leaks going on and rumors, and it was just kind of building up, a lot of buzz, but maybe not in the way that Nintendo wanted it. And the best way to get ahead of buzz like that is to control the narrative yourself. And what better way to do that than to release your own information? So they did put out a brief trailer. I don't know, it was like a minute or something. It wasn't like super long, maybe 2 minutes, who knows? And it just gave us a quick little look at how the Switch is different in terms of form factor, but no real details or anything. I mean, if you imagine what the Switch looks like, I think the only real big notable takeaway, other than, bigger and I'm sure stronger processor, more memory, etc., is that the Joy-Cons, which still do detach from the side of the unit, seem to give the suggestion that if you took the Joy-Con out, separate it from the unit, and turn it like on its side, it seems to function as a mouse, which I think is a pretty cool idea. There's a lot of games out there that just don't function very well with the Joy-Cons, and there's a lot of, mouse heavy games that don't translate well to the Switch in general. So I think this is a pretty brilliant idea. It gives me an excuse to get a new mouse pad, and there are definitely a few games that I've already bought for the Switch that don't work really well with anything other than a mouse, and I'm sure that there's more coming. So perhaps this is going to be a good way to get some of these more PC-oriented type indie games onto the Switch too. If that's the case, then I'm all for it. Unfortunately, we're seeing a little bit of, discontent, I guess, from certain sections of the Switch fan base. Some people, I guess, are disappointed that it just seems like a little bit more of an upgrade than a big revolution. I guess I just don't know what they're looking for. I mean, I love the Switch. I play it basically every day. I've got I'm not kidding. I've probably got like at least 1,000 games in my library, and I love it. I don't want anything hugely different. I did not want an incompatible library. I want backwards compatibility for sure. I don't really need a big change in the form factor. I think it really works well. Maybe a little bit, slightly more comfortable controllers, or maybe a bigger screen, or better kickstand on the back or something. That would be welcome, but nothing huge. I mean, I think the Switch is absolutely a hit by any definition. And as the old saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it. It does not need fixing in any way. And I get that Nintendo's the wacky company. They do, the motion controls or the weird add-ons or the bananas form factor or something like that. But it just does not need to happen right now. There is no disruption necessary. I think Nintendo's in its own lane, doing its own thing. They're wildly successful. They're delivering a ton of really awesome experiences. The unit works well. It's a big hit. I mean, just why would you mess with that? I don't think anybody really wants Nintendo to mess with that. I mean, if they want to have a bonus peripheral or some extra game that comes with a little doodad you plug in or something, I mean, cool, go for it. I'm not against creativity, but seeing some of the, I don't know if I even want to say it's backlash, but just some of the murmuring and some of the grumbling about, it's just an upgraded Switch. Well, the Switch is fucking awesome. So I guess why would you want to change that? I think Nintendo's really onto something here. So put me in the camp of yes, absolutely yes. I am down day one for Switch 2. This is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted the exact Switch, but just better battery life, maybe a better screen. The mouse thing I think is a cool addition. I mean, there's probably a few more bells and whistles that we don't know about quite yet, but like it did not need to change. Like it's great. It's really great. I love the Switch. So I am not complaining. I am welcoming the Switch 2, and I will put my money down as soon as I'm able. So very happy to see that. It delivered exactly what I wanted. I am not disappointed one iota. And I think if Nintendo had taken a wild swing with something right now, not only is it not necessary, I think they are putting themselves at needless risk. And I don't think that is something that anybody really wants to see happen right now. There's no reason for it. Literally no reason for it. And just to as an asterisk, what do you mean there's no reason for it, Brett? Okay, fine, I'll tell you. Well, back in the day, I mean, Nintendo couldn't keep up with PlayStation and Xbox in terms of raw power, right? They couldn't compete on a price point. Or, I mean, they could, they just chose not to, right? I'm not saying they couldn't. I mean, they got like $85 billion in cash that is buried in a vault beneath Nintendo Tower, so they could do it if they wanted to, but they didn't want to. So they decided to take a different approach, right? The Wiimote, doing that, or they tried to do, the Wii U and all the other stuff that they tried was to make themselves stand out and get themselves out of the tech horse race that the PlayStation and Xbox found themselves in. So in that context, it kind of made sense that they would try something different and disrupt a little bit. But right now, they've got a really comfortable niche all to themselves. There's a lot of games that are coming to the Switch that I think are a perfect form factor. It's really portable. People like it. It doesn't have the PC issues if you get like the Steam Deck or the Ally or whatever. Like it's just a really great place to be for them right now, and they're kind of owning their own lane, so it doesn't make any sense that they would try to like disrupt their own success right now. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. If you disagree, let me know in the comments or shoot me an email or something on Blue Sky or something in Discord, perhaps. Let me know, and I'm happy to talk about it. But I'm glad. I like it. I think it's the right move, so I'm on board. The only other thing to really talk about right now in terms of the industry is that Marvel Snap got banned from the US. I'm hoping, and I'm pretty positive it's going to be temporary. But it caught everybody by surprise. This is under the overall umbrella of the political disaster and bait and switch that's happening in the United States right now. And if you're not in the US right now, boy, are you a lucky person. So basically the whole TikTok ban thing that was happening, which I'm not going to talk about that in detail right now because that would take me a while and I don't want to get that upset. But basically it's like this huge schnookering of the American people. TikTok went away for like 12 hours and we all thought it was going to be banned forever. Now it's back, etc., etc. And I'm really biting my tongue not to go further into this. But basically, the parent company of the publisher, of the friend, of the brother, of the uncle who cuts TikTok's hair, like anything involved with that, they all got banned. So there was a number of things that got taken off of the App Store, and Marvel Snap was one of them. The people who work at Marvel Snap were apparently totally surprised that they found themselves banned from the store. Everything was cut off. You couldn't access the game. And they were like, what the fuck? Like they had no idea, I guess, that they were on the chopping block as well. So unfortunate. As of 5 minutes ago, TikTok is back. Marvel Snap is not back. And so I think that's some real bullshit. So apparently, I've spent money on it. A lot of people I know spent money on it. It's a really popular game. It's a good game. And they did not deserve this because it's in no way a communication app. It's not a social media app. It's just a mobile game. So I hope they get that sorted out quickly. And boy, what a fucking nightmare. And just as a quick side note, along with the TikTok ban, a lot of other things have fallen under that whole, in the blast zone, I guess, as it were. CapCut, which is a very popular video editing software, which my son actually uses, was banned. That was banned for a while. I don't know if it's back yet, but it did get taken off the market for a little while at least. May still be gone. And also Instagram took this moment while TikTok was getting banned. I guess they thought that would be a big enough distraction. They got rid of PixelFed. I believe they are protesting it or banning it or disallowing it from their programs or something. PixelFed is a photo program that does not harvest your data. It's basically just like kind of a homegrown photo app that has a lot of good tools to it and stuff like that. So you can use that instead of the other inbred Instagram stuff. So I guess that's another thing that's happening. I mean, what we're seeing right now is we're seeing the oligarchs of America kind of like not really giving a shit who knows about what anymore. They're kind of just acting openly now, and we're seeing a lot of banning, and I bet we're going to see a lot more. So I guess welcome to the new United States. I guess we should probably do something about that. Anyway, that's all for game-related housekeeping. Oh, except for one more thing. I want to give a big shout out to Elio Campitelli, superfan, longtime listener, friend of the show. Elio sent in their top 3 and 1 disappointment for the Game of the Year show. To be fair to me, they sent it in late, and so I missed it when I was going through the initial emails to gather submissions. And to be fair to Elio, I had forgotten to check after I got the initial batch, so I meant to go back and just see if there were any stragglers, and I forgot to check. So I think combination of factors, we're going to end up reading this one late, but that's okay. I will read them at any point and any time because I love the listeners. I am very grateful for all the submissions and all the emails and communications and participation. So it doesn't matter to me a bit that we're reading this late because I think it deserves to be read. So, Elio Compitelli, these are their top 3 experiences that they played during 2024, and then 1 disappointment. Number 1, Gravity Rush, which reminds me I need to actually go back to that, or Gravity Rush 2, but they chose Gravity Rush, the first one. I had wanted to play this game for ages, but I couldn't because it was not available on PC. This year I discovered there is a Vita emulator that works well on Android, and this is the first game I booted up. It's not the greatest, but it's fun and charming and weird. Now waiting for a viable PS4 emulator to play Gravity Rush 2. Wow, blast from the past. I loved Gravity Rush. It was so cool and stylish. I had a lot of fun with it. And you're right, it's got issues, but it's also just really fucking cool. And I really need to go back and play Gravity Rush 2. I don't think I even started it. I know I bought it back in the day, but good call, good call. Next one, Ultros. Speaking of weird, Ultros. The colorful visuals and commanding art direction made me play it, even though it's ostensibly a Metroidvania. And yes, the game is gorgeous. Every frame is artwork, but it's also so much deeper than it looks. It's an intricately layered experience that effectively uses gameplay to support its main thesis. After every new run, a new mechanic opens up that completely transforms the gameplay. You start playing a combat platformer and finishing up playing a gardening simulator. Now, see, when you describe it like that, it makes me want to play it, but I did play Ultros and I bounced off it like really fucking hard. I found it really hard to look at, visually overwhelming, and I just remember, I don't remember the specifics, but I remember just not liking it, but when you describe it like that, it really makes me want to go back to it, so maybe I will. I know a lot of people really dig that game. I know a lot of the folks over at Gaming in the Wild love that game a lot, so maybe I'll let some time pass and maybe I'll come back to it. We'll see. The next one is Wanted Dead. It's impossible to write a single paragraph about this game. Just like Pringles, once you start talking about Wanted Dead, you can't stop. Every part of this game is strange and broken in interesting ways. It looks you directly in the eyes and challenges you to dissect it. What's going on with the minigames? Why does the dialogue feel like it's missing 30% of the connecting lines? Who signed off on these atrocious checkpoints? Yeah. I'm with you. I played Wanted Dead and I found it to be like basically a really unpleasant nightmare. I like the concept of it. This is like a kind of a third person, I don't think it's a stop and pop, but kind of like an actioner where you play, I think a woman with like a sword and a gun, and then you kind of run through and kill ninjas in a building, Die Hard style or something, if that's the one I'm thinking of. And I remember it being cool in the trailer, but like really crap to play. So I get it. You know, I'm going to be talking about a game that's kind of in this exact same vein at the end of the show here. So I get the appeal and also the repulsion. So honorable mentions for Elio are Dungeons of Hinterberg, yay, Star Trucker, and Fury. Elio's disappointment of the year, Jusant. Ooh, that's going to be a surprise to some people. Jusant. I wanted to like this game a lot. The art style is right up my alley, and I've been enjoying the climbing game genre and its rise in popularity. But Jusant's gameplay was too clunky and too shallow to sustain even a short 4-hour runtime. The story is also pretty basic, and contrary to developers' claims, it is told with too many words. But I'm now hyped for Cairn by the game bakers. Same. I like the idea of Jusant. I did not like the gameplay. I did not feel like it was a very good game, and I bounced before the end of, like you said, the very short 4-hour runtime. But I am also quite excited for Cairn. It looks a little more survivally, a little more, I don't know, not straightforward, but like quote-unquote serious, perhaps. A little bit more mechanical. It kind of looks a little bit like Death Stranding, but you're climbing a mountain. So those things all appeal to me, and I definitely am with you, Elio. I do like the climbing genre. There's not a lot of entries right now, but I do dig it. It's a cool idea, and I kind of feel like we haven't really gotten the best out of this genre since it's still in its infancy. So maybe this will be the one that really just moves the whole thing forward and is like, yes, this is kind of the new baseline, and this is where we're going from here. So Elio, thank you so much for sending that in, and apologies for taking so long to get to it. But we did get there, and I really do appreciate it. Absolutely. All right, we're just about to dive into the main portion of the show here, but before we do, just a quick bit of compliance with FCC regulations by mentioning that all of the games covered here today have been provided free of charge for coverage purposes. All right, folks, let's see. As you know, I like to start the main portion of the show with circle backs, where I circle back to things I have covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details right now, but just think of this as a quick update to let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with it. Only one circle back this week. This was actually kind of a fun and strange week because rather than blowing through a bunch of stuff for the show, I ended up playing a couple of games that really hooked me. And because we are still kind of in the Q1 lull, I had enough of a luxury with my time to be able to spend most of my focus on these two games. So we have fewer games than normal this episode, and because of that, I had fewer circle backs, but we'll get to everything that I played anyway, and I still think it's a decent episode here. So the only circle back this week is Blasphemous 2, which I did mention last episode. Getting further into it, started this when it dropped a while ago, a year and a half ago, basically, maybe 2 years, something like that. I was a huge fan of Blasphemous 1, which is a 2D Metroidvania action platformer with heavy, specifically Spanish Catholic imagery and themes, really gross and bloody and grotesque. Great craftsmanship, great animation, great character design. Everything about it is just great. I jumped into Blasphemous 2 when it dropped, but at the time I was not in the mood for it. I'm kind of low on Metroidvanias right now. I think that out of all the genres out there, this is one that I'm just not really interested in playing a lot of at the moment. I feel like I kind of burned out on them, but this one is so good that I decided to come back to it. I am glad that I took like that time away though, because I remember starting it and seeing the quality of it and thinking it was a good game, but I just did not want to play it. And sometimes you got to just like listen to your body, check in with your tummy, see what it says. And at that time it was like, no, I don't want this. So we put it on pause, came back to it. Like I said, year and a half. And I'm glad that I came back to it. I'm glad I didn't just delete it and forget about it, because it really is a quality piece of work. And I am really quite enjoying it, even though, like I said, I am pretty low on Metroidvanias right now. So quick update to build on what I said last week. I'm still absolutely loving the art. The art is just doing all of the heavy lifting in this game. Even that's not to say that the rest of it is a slouch, but like the art is really what captures my attention, what makes me so curious to see what's coming up next. And just like everything that happens here is kind of like this really gory, like car wreck kind of a display. All of the characters you meet are just really odd and deformed and grotesque. And you meet a lot of like quest givers and people who give you the power-ups, and they're all these weird like religious icons that have been twisted with like body horror and stuff. Like one of the ones that really like wigs me out like pretty hard is you have little Estus flasks or energy tanks or whatever you want to call them, the stuff that you use to give yourself a boost of life when you're out in the field. And whenever you get an empty one, you need to go have it filled up by one of these people that gives you the power up, so you can activate it and add to your life tanks or whatever. And so you go to see this person, and they, at first glance, they seem like an angel or something, or some kind of a saint perhaps. They're a larger human, larger than normal humans, and they're in this white robe, and they have like little angels around them. And so it seems like perfectly innocent at first, but then when you take a closer look at what's going on, they're extending their right arm out to you. I don't know, gesture of kindness or something, of grace. But the skin is like all flayed and peeled back. And the angels, I mean, I don't know if they are peeling it off or if they're putting it back on, but the angels, all the little cherubs, are each holding like a flap of skin that has been flayed off of the arm. And the arm is just like muscle and bone exposed. And it looks like something fucking out of Hellraiser. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like a fucking nightmare. It looks so crazy to me. And so you meet all the bosses are kind of similarly gross with body horror, and it's all tied up with like guilt themes and salvation themes and penitence themes, a lot of stuff that Catholics use as their stock in trade. And I am a former Catholic too, so I don't feel bad talking about this. I am no longer a Catholic, but I was raised Catholic, so I'm fine to get in on this in a certain way. So I love the artwork very much. I think it's just really cool. I will say though, as I've gotten further in the game, I'm about 45% map completion. I don't know what is required to finish the game, but I actually am having to play a lot slower than I normally would, and I have to be a lot more thorough because this game has a very strange progression. It is very slow in giving you power-ups and upgrades. It felt like hours and hours and hours of getting no new powers, no new upgrades, but like finding new places to explore, beating bosses. I would get a weapon here or there, but like other than that, I was like, man, what the hell? Because I know you get all sorts of like little power ups that you can adjust and change. You have a rack of statues on your back that you can change the statues out. Those give you various powers. You've got a rosary where each of the beads can be changed. There's the health flask that I mentioned. You find these gold nuggets that get slotted into a tree. You got to find these cherubs. There's all this there's tons of like shit in this game that are all going to be giving you power ups and will eventually make you like really this unstoppable like holy warrior. But they take a really long time to get to it. And on top of that, the world is pretty large. I mean, I don't know how it stacks up in comparison to other Metroidvanias, but I feel like I've been playing it for like a pretty good amount of time now. And like I said, I'm less than 50% with map completion. I know that you get like a double jump. I know you get this little thing that boosts you up in the air. I know you get the ability to open certain doors. And like, I hadn't gotten any of that stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, am I just missing stuff? What's happening? But not really. They hold a lot of that stuff back until you really just spend a lot of time exploring. And then once you finally do get like your first power up, they kind of want you to go back through and then unlock all of the stuff that you couldn't get the first time. Which is, I get it, par for the course for Metroidvania, but it just feels like they're really doubling down. And I'm not saying that as a negative because I'm still really enjoying my time, but the pace of it is really unexpected and slow. Also, I will say, the world is quite open and the path is not really linear. So everybody starts in the same place, but from that point, you've got at least 3 different places you can go. And it's kind of up to you which way you go. And it also depends on which weapon you have from the start, because each weapon does something different in terms of giving you an ability to get past obstacles. So it's entirely likely you could get like weapon A and then go on path B and then get stymied because you don't have the right combination, and then have to double back and go someplace else. And then once you get those abilities, there's not really a path forward. You just have to figure out like, where should I go next? Where was a place where I missed a bunch of power-ups? Where was a place where I can unlock something? And it's not at all clear. Like, they really put a lot of that on the player to a degree that I find, difficult. To be perfectly transparent, I kind of hit a wall and I was going in circles. So I went to Reddit or something or whatever, and somebody had taken a picture of the game's map and like stitched together a giant map of the whole world. And then they put down markers as to like a suggested path forward. So if you don't know where you're supposed to go next, they have it all numbered out. And I'm like, okay, great. This is exactly what I needed. Now that I've got that little hint, and that's all it was. It wasn't even like spoilers or anything. It was just like, hey, if you have weapon A and you've got rosary B, then why don't you go to area number 7? And I'm like, okay, good. Because like, there's a lot of places to go. And blind searching in a game is one of my least favorite things in the world. So I did have to get that help. I will say, I think the game could have been more clear about where they suggest you to go. Could have been a little bit more linear in certain places. Not that it needs to be entirely linear, but you're just faced with so many ways to go. It's just really tough to figure things out. So it can be confusing, but I will say I think the mechanics are great. It feels great to play. The parry is one of the best parries I've ever played because it's usable. It's very good, reliable. The animation frames for the enemies are very readable. And if you still need help, I super appreciate this. There is one of the power-ups you can get that widens your parry window if you need even more of a buffer, which I have not needed to use so far because it's so well tuned. But if you do need more of a parry window, they give you an option, and you can opt in if you wish, which is absolutely the right way to handle it. So I think that's great. I will also say that the bosses have been very good so far in this game. Very, very good. And what I mean by that is they kind of subscribe to the Dark Souls theory of boss design, where you get to a boss. Now, there's a couple that are kind of just, like whatever, you blow through them, no problem. But most of them, you get to them and they just work you the first time. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's impossible. Like, and I think that's correct, right? When you get to a boss, you don't know his moves. You don't know his power levels. You don't know what tricks they got up their sleeve. And so you get worked the first couple times. But you come back, and thankfully there has been a save point near every boss that I've been stuck by so far. Maybe not like right outside the room, but close enough to where it's not a problem, right? Which I also appreciate. And so you come back, and then with a little careful observation, you're like, okay, wait a minute. The boss always has this tell, and I recognize that now. And the controls are tight enough that when I need to act, when I see the tell, I can do that successfully. And then by the time that you figure it all out, you're almost like perfecting the boss, right? Like, maybe not perfect, but at least you beat them, definitively. Like, it's not even close, right? The one boss I got stuck on recently was this giant guy who had a grinding, what is it, a grinding wheel? That's not right. Like a sharpening stone, that big thing, grindstone. That's what it is. Jesus fuck, boy. The English language is hard, folks. He had a grindstone on his back, and he's this giant guy, and he was just like mopping the floor with me. But I died enough times that I'm like, okay, I got to just like let the adrenaline like subside and kind of just take a good look at what's going on, right? The kind of Dark Souls approach to when Dark Souls had good bosses. They don't always have good bosses, but when you get a good boss, it feels like you study them, you learn the tells, you learn the appropriate moves, and then you execute, and then you just take them out. And this guy, like, he just kept hitting me, and I finally realized that when he stood up to a certain height, because he's really tall, when he extended his legs a certain way, it meant he was going to jump backwards. And then when he extended them slightly shorter, as more of a squat, he was going to jump forwards. And once I had figured that one part out, like all the rest of it kind of came together. So I'm like, okay, jump forward, jump back. Okay, got it. And then I totally put it all together and like just took him out like the very next time. And I had like, like one of my life bottles left over. So it wasn't even that big a deal. So I like that feeling of, oh my God, this guy's impossible. Wait a minute. I need to just open my eyes a little bit, think about it for a second, try a few things, and then, oh yeah, I totally worked that guy and moved on. So that's a great feeling of accomplishment. The best games can really implement that routinely, and Blasphemous 2 really does. Almost all the bosses I've been stuck at have followed that same pattern, which I think is really successful and good. I'm sure there's going to be stiffer challenges in my future, but I feel like the game's been very fair, and considering the open world nature of it, you can always go back and look for more power-ups, or you can, buy some items or something. I mean, you're never like stuck. You can always have some other place to go, which I think is a good idea. So it's not perfect, but I think it is very good, like capital V, capital G, very good. And I really respect what they're doing. So I'm glad I came back to it, having a great time. I definitely want to roll credits on this one. And I think I'm going to stay the course. It'll be my nighttime, like chip away game when I'm in bed and stuff. So definitely a thumbs up. If you're looking for a quality Metroidvania, play Blasphemous 1 first, I think, because I think that one is shorter, more concise, and I think it gives you the correct flavor of what you're going to be in for. But when you're in the mood for this one, it's definitely not one to skip. So that is Blasphemous 2, currently playing it on the Switch, and I think it's a great fit for the Switch. Probably even better on the Switch too. All right, moving on to new stuff. Lightyear Frontier has been on the Xbox Game Pass program for quite a while, and it's just about to go into 1.0 if it's not already. So they are now moving it from the early preview program or whatever it's called on Xbox to the full, normal, regular, just straight up good old Game Pass version. I'm not sure exactly what the changes are because I have not dipped into it previously, but now that I saw that it's nearing completion, I figured it was worth a shot. Lightyear Frontier is a cozy sci-fi themed farming game where you play a farmer and you crash land on this planet and you have to go find a mech suit, your farming mech. You find it, you repair it after like 2 seconds, you jump in. You can do first person or you can do third person, which I really want to give big kudos to. I really enjoy the third person. I probably would not have played this if it was just first person, but I know some people prefer first or whatever. I mean, I just like more options, right? Like I want to be able to play my way. I want you to be able to play your way. So first or third, whatever, you can have whatever you want. As soon as you get in your mech, they give you a couple startup quests like build a shelter, and they give you some tools to find. You get like a saw arm, a drill arm, a watering arm, a seed shooting arm where you can load a sprout or a seed and shoot it in the ground to plant it. There's like vacuum arm, a couple other things like that. So you have like this mech suit, which is big, and it kind of looks like vaguely a tractor. Not like a tractor, regular tractor, but it's got tractor elements to it. Like the engine chassis kind of looks like the nose of a tractor. It's got kind of a vaguely John Deere-ish kind of energy around it. And so you walk around, build a shelter, and you do a couple like starter quests, and then you kind of just like start to farm. So I like this idea a lot. I like not only the ability to change perspectives, but having a mech suit to farm with and being on this planet and trying to carve out an existence. I think that's really cool and neat, and I like that a lot. Graphics are very cute and cozy and colorful. And I think just the vibe is just very, very chill. How chill, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you, I don't believe there's any combat in this game at all, as far as I can tell. Your mech suit has no weapons of any kind. Your character, when they get out of the mech suit, has no weapons of any kind. And as far as I can tell from what I saw, there are no enemies. The animals that you meet are passive. I don't see anything to really defend yourself against. It seems like a totally benevolent, neutral planet where everything is like safe, right? Kind of sounds like a good place to go right now, honestly. If I had the option, I would absolutely pull that trigger and take that trip. So that's a good start. I think it's a really good start, and I think it looks cool and cute, and the vibes are nice, and the mech suit, and blah blah blah. But I think it has maybe some issues. Now, full disclosure, I did not spend more than 1 day with this game, and I did not finish it. I'm just kind of just giving like a quick dip in and dip out. But I will say, so a couple issues with the game so far. Number one, there's not really much of a story going on here. I came across some alien ruins, and it seems like there's going to be the beginning of a what happened to the disappeared civilization trope going on, which is totally fine. That's good enough. But nothing happened. Like, I found the ruins, and a little voice thing goes like, oh, this alien civilization's been long gone. And I'm like, cool. What do I do about it? What's happening here? Nothing happens. So I'm guessing there's probably some quests that are associated with it, but they didn't trigger for me. And I'm not sure if they trigger later or what I have to do. This game is pretty hands-off when it comes to telling you what to do. It almost feels like a sandbox in some ways. And I kind of was hoping it would give you a little bit more, because once you get past the introductory quests, build a house, build a tool shed, build a oil maker where you put like corn in and get corn oil out, that kind of stuff. Once you can do those initial things, they don't tell you anything to do. And so I'm like, well, what am I doing? I need a little bit more hand-holding than this. I need some kind of a story or a goal or something to work towards. I'm not really big on just like fuck around and make your own fun games. So there was no quests. I did all the quests that were available to me, and then nothing. There was no hotspot on the map. There was no suggestion. There was like nothing. I'm just kind of wandering around doing whatever I want. And there was stuff in the menu to build. I mean, it was like, I could have built more tools. I could have built more things, but I'm like, what is the point? Like, I am not in the market. And this is just me personally. I mean, maybe people are in the market for this, and maybe I'm not the demographic, but I want to be working towards a quest. I want to be working towards building something specific. I want to be working towards finding out more about the story. What happened here on this planet? Why did I crash? What can I do? Am I trying to leave? Am I trying to stay? Like, what's happening? There's just nothing of that sort that I found anyway. I mean, maybe there is some later on, but just nothing. And because of that, because I was kind of left aimless and directionless, I felt like everything kind of became busy work almost immediately, where I was simply just doing things just to do them. And for me personally, that's not how I play games. I'm very goal oriented as a player, and I know that about myself. And that's fine. If you're not, that's totally fine. I respect that, no shade. But for me, when I get the most out of my game sessions, it's because I'm doing something. I have a goal. I'm working towards something. I'm achieving something, even something small, like if they were like, oh, you got to build 2 houses and here's what you do. I'd be like, on it, doing it. Right. Or, oh, we really need you to set up a cornfield. Can you please plow this field and get some corn? Yes, absolutely. I'm on it. But there was nothing. And so I kind of wandered around for a while. I was waiting for some quests to trigger. Nothing triggered. I started collecting some goods, and then my mech got overburdened because I picked up too many goods because I was picking up everything that I saw. I fed a couple animals because they were just there and they were kind of fuzzy and friendly. And then the day and night cycle of the world kind of went by a couple times, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's it. I need something else. So I don't know if it was maybe the game just wasn't triggering for me, or maybe they just need me to be a little bit more industrious and be a bit more of a self-starter and just kind of do things on my own before something would trigger. I just felt like I was left to my own devices in this sandboxy type world too soon, and I really needed some more direction. So I like the idea of it. I like the way it looks. It looks great. I think the controls were great. UI was fine. Everything about it was really good. It just is kind of lacking drive or direction or a central hook. I just needed a little bit more than that. Maybe that's just me. If you like the idea of free roam farming in a mech suit on an alien planet, and that's all you need, this might be your jam. It very well may be. But for me, I needed more of that. Although I did like what I saw, it wasn't enough. So if they do patch more story in, or they tweak it, or there's DLC or something, I'd be happy to come back to it. Like, I feel like I could probably spend some time in this if it was kind of like more in my basket. But right now, it's maybe not the game for me. Although I do still kind of like it, though. It's got good vibes. So anyway, it's on Game Pass now. So if you are a subscriber, you got really nothing to lose other than time. So give it a shot. Maybe it's your jam. Who knows, right? That is Lightyear Frontier. A little sci-fi farming for you. Next up is Codename Ocean Keeper. Playing this one on Xbox. It's also on PC and Switch as well, I believe. This comes from a small team, and it is kind of a weird thing to talk about, I guess. But basically, it follows the footsteps of a couple of other games which I have seen and played. I don't even know what to even call this genre, or if it even is a genre. It may not even be a genre, but maybe just these couple of games are kind of taking notes from each other or something. If for anyone who's played them, and don't worry, I'll explain this in a second, but it's a lot like Wall World or Dome Keeper. If you've played either one of those games, then you know basically what to expect. But in this title, which follows in those footsteps quite closely, you are in a giant quadruped mech at the bottom of the ocean. And the game starts with no story. There's no setup. There's no premise. You just jump into it. So you're in this mech and you're on the bottom of the ocean, and there are little caves scattered throughout the environment. You see them on the ground. And so you walk your mech over to a cave. When you get close, you push one of the buttons, and then you are transported in the cave. Your mech stays outside because it's huge. But you and your little, scuba diver outfit and a drill go inside the cave, and then you must drill through the cave walls to find resources. There's like blue ore, orange ore, and green ore. So you're drilling. Takes a couple of seconds to get through a chunk of rock. And sometimes you find ore, sometimes you don't. You can't really see. It's kind of like all fog of war a little bit. So you drill around until you find some ore. When you find some, you grab it with a line, and then it attaches to you. And then you got to get back up to the entrance of the cave to upload all that ore back to your mech. And you've only got like a minute or so to do it. So you're down there, you're drilling, getting the ore, coming back to the mech. When you get back to the mech with the ore, you can go into an upgrades menu, and there are upgrades for your diver. You can make his drill faster. You can make him carry more ore. You can make him swim faster, drill faster, and carry more. Yeah, those 3 things. You can do upgrades for the mech. You can make it move faster. You can give it more life. You can heal it. And then you also have like a basic machine gun at the start. But then you can also find these relics that are buried in the caves. You'll find them every so often. You bring a relic back to your mech, and then it gives you like a quick upgrade that you don't have to pay for. Sometimes it'll be like a bonus weapon, or you can like enhance some of the abilities of your mech suit. Once you get back, once your time runs out, you hear that there are incoming waves of monsters. And so you get in your mech and defend. It's like an auto aiming game where you can kind of point sort of which way you want your gun to go, and the gun will automatically target enemies coming into you, like wave after wave. You can narrow the focus of your gun. So if you want to focus on a very specific part, you can narrow it down, even though you're not necessarily shooting. You're never like actively shooting as you would in a real game. You're kind of just like guiding the auto firing of your turrets. So once you fend off these monsters for, another minute or so, take care of them, and then you have a minute of peace. You go back to the next cave. You'll have as long as you have until the next wave to go back down and dig for resources, then get back to your mech, upgrade, and then fight off another wave of monsters, and wash, rinse, repeat. That's basically what there is to this game. And I think the bones of it are fine. I've played Wall World and I've seen Dome Keeper, and this is just right in line with those. I mean, just really basically taking all the same notes, same structure, same basic procedure. The only real difference between this one and those is that you don't have a static base to defend. Like in Wall World, you had a mech that moved very slowly up and down a wall. So at times you were kind of just defending a point. In Dome Keeper, you had a dome. This one, your mech is very mobile. So that's really the only difference. Otherwise, these games are functionally identical, which is kind of disappointing. I wish there was a bit more of a departure. When you get to the end of a run, you're eventually going to get overwhelmed by monsters. Like, you're going to get just to a point where there's too many monsters. You don't have enough defense. You can't fight them off. And the only healing available is by spending resources in your upgrade menu. And you're going to run out of those resources pretty quickly. So you might be able to heal up once or twice, but you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to go out. When you get killed, you go back to this like outside of the game, like a larger menu, and you have other things which are permanent upgrades. You can permanently upgrade your mech's health, its speed, the stats of your diver. You can unlock more slots on your mech to have more automatic weaponry loaded up. You can unlock more guns. You get as much as you can get, then you go back for another run, and then you just kind of keep going. So I think the basic concept of this game is fine. I mean, I think it's kind of a proven formula. The other two games are quite good. Dome Keeper and Wall World are both quite good. And so it makes sense that they would kind of follow that template, but it doesn't really change things up enough. And in fact, I think it's lesser than those games because there's no story, or at least no story that I found. Like, you literally just thrust into it and you just do run after run for the sole purpose of like playing the game and upgrading the weapons and then just to go back and play again. I did not find any story elements. I did not find any campaign or targets to shoot for. You're just in there doing the thing, which, I mean, it's fine. It's fine to start, but it needs more polish. It needs more meat on these bones. It needs a reason for me to come back to it. I need a little bit of motivation. That's me being the goal-oriented player again, right? There are also some glitches in here. I mean, I think it just recently came to Xbox, so they got a few things to iron out, but I was seeing things like enemies that had no animation. That was kind of noticeable. Having some problems with the UI and the menus. I would sometimes be able to select things. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to select things. So there's a couple buggy issues going on. Not major, but like noticeable. And I think it just gets halfway there, right? Like, I think it's a good start. I think you could go further with this. I think it's got potential, but like, I need more of a story. I need a little bit more variation in the formula. I need just something else to kind of make it stand apart, other than the fact that your base is just like slightly more mobile, which I don't think is quite different enough, I guess. So it's kind of a Me Too feeling sort of a thing, but it gets the job done. It just is kind of bare bones compared to the other ones. So I would say that if you've never played a game like this, it's kind of neat, but there are better examples, and I wish the team luck. I mean, I hope that they keep working on it. I bet, with a little bit of story involved, maybe some targets to shoot for, a little bit of polish around the rough edges. I mean, it could be a very enjoyable thing to play. It just it's tough to recommend this one where there are other examples which are deeper and bigger and more polished and offer more, and this is kind of following in their footsteps. It just doesn't quite feel like it's done yet. So I hope the team has success with this. I wish them good luck. I think it needs a bit more work. I'd be happy to come back to it when they flesh out the bones a bit, but as it stands, it doesn't quite feel cooked, even though it's on a good path. So there you go. That is Codename Ocean Keeper. All right, last new game of the show, and this one is kind of a doozy. It's Slitterhead, Slitterhead. This is a wild one and a weird one, and I will say, first off, I bought this with my own money, full price, paid full price for this, and I am kind of famously a video game cheapskate. I very rarely will pay full price for anything. I've got to be pretty on fire about it to pay full price, and I did. I thought this one was worth the gamble. I played the demo. There's a demo available on PS5. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. I would be surprised if it wasn't, but jumped in, checked it out. Basically, it's got the guy who was behind Siren, or Forbidden Siren, the creepy AF game from the early days of PlayStation, and also the guy who did the Silent Hill music, Akira Yamaoka, I believe his name is. So the sounds are amazing, very creepy and stuff. So that seems like kind of a minor Dream Team collaboration there. And this one is just, I don't even know where to begin. It looks like a horror game, but it's not really a horror game. It's kind of a sci-fi game, not really. Kind of a time travel game, but no. It's kind of got body horror, definitely. And it's just like a big, giant melting pot of random ideas and bits and bobs. And I will say, just off the top here, I do not recommend this game, but I like this game. I am playing it. I plan to complete it. I think it's really cool, and I've had a good time, but I also don't recommend this game to like literally anyone, except if you are me. Like, if you're me, totally get this game. If you're not me, definitely play the demo and like proceed with caution. So I recognize that this game is working for me on levels that may not be working for other people, and I want to be very clear about that, because I'm going to say some fun things about it, and it's fun for me, but I don't want you to rush out and drop $50 on this, because I think most people would be very disappointed with this. I am not, but that's me, and I realize that. I recognize that. So I want to be super clear. I don't want anybody emailing me next week and be like, I spent $50 on this. I'm so mad at you. Why did I listen to you? I'm telling you, don't buy this game. I'm just telling you what I think about it, okay? Just want to make sure that that's out there on the table. So this is a third-person game, and I really struggle to describe what it is, but basically you are in an alternate world. The town is called Kowloon, but obviously it's supposed to be Kowloon. It's dark. It's rainy. You're in this very crowded Asian metropolis. There's neon signs all over the place. The density of life is just like top of the charts. Like it's really packed in. I have no doubt that if I got pictures of actual Kowloon and looked at it, that it would look exactly like this. I am going to do my best to not spoil anything, although I feel like it's almost impossible to spoil this game because it's so random and strange and weird and vibes. But you play a spirit. At the beginning of the game is kind of like you're waking up from wherever you were. You don't quite know who you are, and they walk you through the tutorial. So you're this spirit that can inhabit the bodies of human beings. You float around for a while. You figure out, oh, I'm a spirit. I've had amnesia or something. I need to figure out what's going on. You can go into the bodies of most people. Not everybody, but you can go into like, I don't know, 80% of the people that you meet. And I'm not sure why, other than the developers are cheating, that you can't go into everybody's body. So there might be some particular reasons why for development they couldn't have you go into so-and-so's body. But most of the time, you'll see a little yellow dot on somebody's head kind of glowing, and that signals that you can go inside their body. So you can jump from body to body. And during the tutorial, it's pretty cool, actually, from a very horror-centered alien kind of perspective, because as you are learning the tutorial, you're jumping from body to body. All these Asian people who are in Kowloon, excuse me. It teaches you to run and jump and how to get a weapon. Like you use your own blood to create a weapon out of your body, so you can have weapons as much as you want as long as you've got blood left over. You can heal yourself by absorbing blood that's splashed on the sidewalks and streets. And sometimes you use the body swapping to, like, for example, fight in one body, and if that body takes so much damage, you can jump to another body to continue the fight if your first host dies. But there's also other advantages to it too, where you can switch back and forth to like change the aggro. If you're in a fight with a monster and there's several humans nearby, you can like jump from body to body to body to keep the monster guessing, and you're kind of like taking pot shots at him from various different bodies. But the thing that was most striking about this demo, and is kind of indicative about how this game approaches humanity, is that when you get to part of the tutorial, you're on top of a roof and you need to get to the street level. You can't just jump because you would die. And if you die in your host body, like if your host body dies while you're in it, that's bad for you. And you only get 3 of those before it's like a game over restart. So you jump off the roof in the body of like this random person that you're in, this innocent person. You jump off the roof, you fly all the way down until you're maybe like 100 feet up off the sidewalk. And then you look around for another body. You see one, and your spirit leaves the body that's plummeting and goes inside a body that's already on the street, like walking around. And then the body you just left completely splats all over the sidewalk. And the spirit you're in doesn't even blink, doesn't even acknowledge it. It's like they stepped on an ant. Like they have like literally no sympathy or care whatsoever for that poor person that you just forced to jump off the roof. That part right there is like, from a writing / horror / alien perspective, is fucking great. I think like that is a perfect way to illustrate what kind of a creature you're dealing with, what kind of a creature you are, where you see humans as like literally kind of like interchangeable, worthless, like they're just tools to be used. You wouldn't feel bad if you were in a garage and you broke a screwdriver and throw it away. You just get a new screwdriver. It's kind of what it feels like. There's no empathy for any of these people, which is scary and alien and cruel in some ways from the human perspective. But from the alien perspective, it's just means to an end, right? So from that point, you go a little bit further in the tutorial, and it's revealed that you can inhabit, like I said, like 80% of humans that you find on the street, 20% or 19% you can't. And then every once in a great while, you will find a human who has this incredible compatibility with you as a spirit. These guys are called the rarities, I think. And I think the game kind of just makes it out to be that they're like genetic anomalies or something like that. So most people you inhabit are just a normal person. They've got like the basic attack and basic life and, whatever kind of fodder. But every once in a while, you'll find these rarities, and they become like the main characters of the game. You find a rarity, you inhabit them, and because your spirit's inside and the DNA activates, they get like super powered. They make these really, really strong blood weapons. The very first one you get, this woman named Julie. She's like a convenience store clerk or something like that. You inhabit her body, and she just like totally powers up. Like she has glowing eyes. The weapons she makes are like these giant bloody Wolverine claws. She's got twice the life of any other human. She's faster. She has like extra abilities that you can do. So you're like, oh, okay, she's like super powerful. You get through the tutorial, and then the spirit kind of like bonds with her. Like you kind of make this mental connection with her where she's like, we understand each other immediately because we are now mentally bonded, even though we are still kind of alien to each other. But there's a lot of information being exchanged. And so she understands that this is like this kind of outside presence that is not a human presence. And the alien starts to get feelings from Julie, like, oh, I see how you feel about yourself as a human being and how you feel about other people. And he starts, or the spirit, it's not a he, it's just a gender neutral. The spirit starts to absorb some of that human feeling. You know, I guess if you were walking on ants all day long, you didn't give it a second thought. But if you all of a sudden have the ability to pick one specific ant and ask what they thought about it and get their opinion on it and hear their feelings, you would probably feel different about the rest of the ants, right? So I think that's a pretty cool premise. I think that's a really great idea. Once you get past this part, the reason that you are even here is revealed is that the city is just brimming with evil monsters called Slitterheads. These are, I guess, parasitical kind of things where they are inhabiting human bodies. And sometimes they seem like to retain some of the human consciousness. Sometimes they don't. It's kind of vague on that. The game is not very specific about nailing a lot of the specifics down, like the rules of it. But there's a lot of people out there who are hunting other humans. So the Slitterheads get inside some human body. They look like humans, and then right before they feed, their heads explode into like these giant parasite-looking, weird, tentacle, wormy, gross things. And then they feed on humans, and then they go back to looking like a human. So the spirit is here to kill those things. The spirit doesn't know why, but the spirit knows that he hates them and that they need to be wiped out. And so that's what's going on. He meets Julie, and then later on, he meets a number of other rarities. I think ultimately there are, I want to say 8 rarities in the game. You only get like 3 in terms of the story progression. And then at that point, the game dead ends and says you need to find a rarity in order to proceed because these new characters open up new levels and new avenues. So that part was kind of clunky. The game leads you from the first 3. And then after that, it's like you're up to your own, which kind of goes back to the level design of the game. There are 3 levels in this entire game. And what happens is each level is kind of broken off into sections. You might go through all of a level one time. Sometimes you'll be in just one part of a level, but there's these kind of like open-ish, I hesitate to say open world, but kind of like these chunks of levels where you can walk around on the streets. You can go to the rooftops. There's basements. There's rooms. You kind of like have this like city block. Each one is like a city block to explore, sort of, but it's not really big on interactivity. There's just like rooms and hallways and rooftops and stuff like that. And the various like quote unquote levels will take place in these chunks of the city. And you go back to them over and over. And the other twist to this is that once you go through them one time, you end up going back to them and doing different things in these chunks of levels. So you go back to the same level over and over and over. And why this is, and again, this is not really spoilers, this is part of like the information that we get, is that the spirit has limited time travel capability. I keep saying he, but it's not a he. The spirit, they can go back in time as far as when the game begins, like when the spirit gains consciousness, it can go all the way back to that point and replay events as many times as it wishes. And that's part of the game. That's why you end up coming back to the same 3 levels over and over, because you'll go through the level once, you'll figure out something, you'll find out who the Slitterhead is, you'll kill them, but then maybe like they killed somebody that you wanted them to survive. And so you rewind time to go back again. And when you go back the second time, you already know who the Slitterhead is. You can go right to them. You can stop the person from getting killed, and you can change the course of events. Cool idea. I like that idea very much. And I got to be honest, I don't think it feels like super repetitive to go back to these 3 levels because you're seeing different perspectives. You're doing different things. You're seeing, bits that you didn't see the first time or the second time. So I think that works really well. So this is all good, but why am I not recommending it? Okay. So to start with, the technical prowess of this game is not up to snuff. It feels like a PS3 game, maybe like PS 3.5. Graphics are pretty rough. Level design's pretty rough. And the combat is pretty well, I guess it's just not good. Let me just be very straightforward. The basics are there. When you're inhabiting a body and fighting one of the Slitterheads, you can block, you can counter, you've got a couple of abilities that you can do, but basically it ends up being kind of just like hack and slash combat, which is fine, I think, but it just doesn't feel very precise. It's not going to satisfy any of the Souls heads out there. It's just kind of a thing that you do to kind of just get to the next story section or whatever, which is problematic because the story sections aren't great either. But the combat is pretty simple and basic and samey, but I think it gets the job done enough because I'm very curious about the whole setup. I'm curious about the mythology and the tone. Everything in this game is like dark and neon and wet and nihilistic. And as the game goes on, it's both good and bad in that the spirit bonds with more and more people. Ultimately, you have 6 or 8 people, and so you're kind of absorbing different pieces of their psyche and talking to them mentally and getting different perspectives. But also, I don't think the game does the greatest job of doing that. In fact, that's kind of like the problem with this game overall. It's got a lot of really like A+ ideas in my perspective, in my opinion, but it doesn't execute any of them well. Like none of them are done well, but there's a lot of like really good stuff. And so for someone like me who can really appreciate like a janky game or a low budget game that has a lot of potential, or developers that are swinging for the fences, even though they really don't have the juice to get it done. Like I enjoy those experiences. I like the newness, the experimentation. And in a game like Slitterhead, I can totally see what they're going for. Like I get it, right? I get the vision. I see the vision and I'm totally on board. It's a cool, weird body horror, body swapping, Asian kind of like dark drama that jumps between different viewpoints. And like all that stuff, I'm like, okay, this is all cool as shit. Like I love all this stuff. But the problem is, like I just said, like none of it is really done to fruition. The combat is super rough. Navigation in the levels is super rough. I think the storytelling is super rough. And in fact, that's probably the game's biggest shortfall. I could probably forgive the other mechanical things, but they don't really do a great job of explaining how the human people are influencing the spirit. And also when you get to the time travel portions, of which you do quite a bit, they don't do a good job of showing how going back in time is altering events. It should be a bigger part of the experience, in my opinion. I feel like they should make a bigger deal about, okay, we're going to do this. This didn't work. We're going to go back in time to try this instead. They don't quite get there. A lot of it is kind of unspoken. A lot of it is kind of suggested in between the lines. And there's been a few levels where I'm like, wait a minute, why am I coming back here? What am I? Oh, okay, that's right. But I think that if they were a little bit more clear and overt about how the game is supposed to be stitching both multiple viewpoints and multiple timelines, it could have come together to be something pretty fucking incredible. Like in my head, when I think about what this game could be, it's incredible. When I see it on my screen and I'm playing through it, I'm like, this is not incredible. It could be, it should be, but it's not. And I'm just being completely real about that. So I think it's pretty disappointing. And with all of the potential in this game, I'm just so excited about it all. But ultimately, it comes down to like diminishing returns. I don't think we get a complete storyline. I don't think we get a complete time travel mechanic. None of it feels satisfying, but it gets like halfway there. So like everything in this game, a whole basket full of very delicious goodies, very interesting bits and bobs and little nuggets of things and just the starts of things. Everything is like half done. So I think that's really disappointing. And I will say, I think the greatest gift this game could give to a player is to end before they get tired of it. And I think it is now officially overstayed its welcome. I'm in the home stretch, it feels like. I've got all the characters. I had to look them up. I felt like the characters were really well hidden and I had a hard time finding them. And I couldn't advance the campaign, so I had to go to like YouTube and watch a Let's Play or something. And I figured out where the rest of the characters were, got those unlocked, which was a pain in the ass, and then moved the story forward. But I think the developers have clearly run out of ideas. Up until this point, it was like, okay, a new character, they've got new moves, that's interesting. We were seeing different aspects of the story, that was interesting. But at the point I'm at now, I feel like we are just kind of padding the campaign out. I've done a couple levels where they were basically just a lot of combat for no good reason. And since the combat in this game is pretty sketch to begin with, when you're doing one-on-one combat, no problem. But when you've got multiple enemies in an arena, that's a problem. And they are leaning on that pretty heavily right now. I just did a level where I had like 5 enemies at once, and the game just can't handle that. It just doesn't work very well. And so I was just like having to restart and cheese my way through it because it's just not great. So I think they're kind of doing that typical video game developer, we got to end with the most difficult sections, and we got to have this big piece, this set piece thing, and we got to go bigger and bigger and bigger. But this game just really can't handle it, man. It really can't. I wish they would dial back on the combat, and some of the missions I've done just don't need to be here. I wish we could just hurry up and get to the completion of the story while I'm still engaged, because even though I've definitely been on board the whole time, I mean, I was on board enough with the demo to spend $50 on it, which to me is not a small thing. I am now to the point where I've seen everything the game has to offer. I am hip to all of the tricks. I have got all of the tactics down. I simply need the story to play itself out and to roll credits, and they need to hurry up and get there, because I'm getting tired of doing the same fights and going back to the same levels now, and just seeing the same tricks. Like, for example, at one point in the story, you're chasing a Slitterhead. The Slitterhead decides he can't beat you, and so he wants to escape. And so he runs from like down the street, like pushing civilians out of his way, jumps from rooftop to rooftop. You're running after him. The Slitterhead's like throwing boxes in your way. It's incredibly exciting. The first time you do it, you're like, oh man, this is amazing. I didn't know the game was going to do this. This is so fun. You're chasing him, trying to take pot shots at him, and eventually you fight and stuff. It's very fucking cool. And then the game does it again. And then another level later does it again. And I'm like, okay, like you guys are clearly out of tricks. Like, this was awesome, like the first couple of times, but now you've done it like 9 times and it's not awesome anymore. Like, it's boring and tedious. I need you to do something different. So the game is pretty limited in its combat, pretty limited in its tricks. And now I wish the developers would just simply just be done with it, because now they don't have anything left to say. And for me, when a game has nothing left to say, that is exactly the time to roll credits, and they're just not there yet. So I don't want to bounce. I really don't want to bounce, because I want to see how this ends up. I want to roll credits. But if they don't get here soon, I may be circling back and saying that I deleted this one and moved on, but I don't want to get there. But overall, I mean, it's so fucking cool and weird and different and strange and gross, and just like everything about it has this really cool, appealing energy that are really like very experimental. I mean, the people on this game are trying something fucking new. Like, they are trying something new. They are workshopping some shit. They are, you know, just dipping their toes into waters that haven't been dipped into before. Like, I appreciate all of that. I absolutely do. But again, it's all rough. I doubt I'm going to get a satisfying experience at the end of this. And I think it's just me, as someone who savors an experimental experience, that's really the benefit I'm getting out of this, is just seeing what they're going to do next with it. And so now that they've used all their tricks up, I need them to bounce. But I don't recommend this to anybody, but I do think it's cool and weird and good, and I'm glad that I played it, and I will be even happier when I finish it. But that is Slitterhead. Boy, it is just like a question wrapped up in a riddle, wrapped up in an enigma, wrapped up in poor production values. So it's definitely a thing. And, well, we'll see what happens if I roll credits. I'll report back if I finish that. So, all right, folks, the game portion of the show is now officially done. But like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. All right, first up, I just finished Skeleton Crew on Disney+. This was the Goonies plus Star Wars. Kids get stuck in a spaceship and zoom off into space and have adventures, kind of miniseries. I think it was 8 episodes altogether. It was great. I loved it. It was so fucking fun, just pure fun all the way through. I thought the cast of the kids was great. Thought the adventures were cool. Just the whole arc of the entire thing was really fun. Really reminded me of kids going off to like find, adventure with no parents around and getting into all kinds of shenanigans and trouble, getting in way over their heads in the Star Wars world. It was brilliant. I thought it was just the best fucking time. I really hope that they revisit it at some point. I think this cast of characters is great. I could easily see them doing something else. But even if they don't, I think Skeleton Crew as a standalone series is just fantastic. It was just chef's kiss. Everything about it was perfect. Had the best time watching it. And it's probably the Star Wars property I have enjoyed the most since Mandalorian season 1. Like, I mean, it made Star Wars new for me again. It made me just wholeheartedly enjoy it again. I just embraced the whole thing, and I was really in all the way through. Nothing but a huge thumbs up for Skeleton Crew. It was fucking really ass good. Double good if you like the Goonies. There was tons of Goonies references in it. And so if you know the Goonies pretty well, you'll see the nods. You don't need to know that to enjoy the series. It'll be amazing whether you know Goonies or not. But if you did, they got some really cool references in there. I really, really appreciate that very much. Also, started watching Transformers Earthspark, which is not from the 80s. And I know I've been on an 80s kick lately, but this is a new one. This is just from 1 or 2 years ago, I believe. This is a brand new Transformers series kicked off on Nickelodeon, and it's the family-friendly Transformers. It's aimed at a younger audience to get a new generation of fans on board. I don't see the larger old school Transformers community really embracing it, but I saw some of the toys and I'm like, these toys are actually okay. Maybe I'll check out the show, see what the show's about. And I gotta say, I've actually been really digging. Like, it definitely is a family-oriented show. It's also from Nickelodeon, so just heads up on that. Like, you got to know what you're walking into. The animation style for the Transformers is kind of like, I don't want to say anime style, but it's kind of like Transformers Animated, if you know that series, where it's kind of like a little bit more kinetic, a little bit more loosey-goosey, like it's not too strict. And I kind of like the way that the Transformers look. The human characters in the show are maybe like 1 degree too cartoony for me. Some of the faces are like a little bit too big and it's a little bit too rubbery looking. Kind of reminds me of like, not as drastic as something like Jimmy Neutron, but kind of like along those lines. So they could dial that back a little bit. I think that would be good. But I think the premise is a really interesting one and I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. So I'll just give you like the first episode premise and you guys can decide whether you want to dip in or not. But basically, this series takes place in a world where Transformers have been here for a long time. So the Transformers are known. There's no secret. They are working with the government to protect the world from Decepticons. And this is just the new state of things. Like everybody knows Transformers. It's just like a thing. So in this show, a mom takes her kids out to be a park ranger and live out in the woods. And the kids are going to like live out in the woods and mom's going to be the park ranger and all that. And while the kids are exploring, they go inside this cave, which has this weird like energon pool and a crystal in there. They don't know what it's from, but the kids are messing around. They touch the crystal. It's a brother and a sister. And when they touch the crystal, out of that pool of stuff at the bottom, the energon / whatever it is, these 2 brand new Transformers emerge and they are bonded to the human kids. The human kids get these like metallic sleeves on their arms that they can't take off. And the Transformers, like 1 Transformer per kid. And so what happens is they are a new type of Transformer that is from Earth. They're called the Terrans. And one of them is like, it turns into a drone. One of them turns into a motorcycle. And the kids go around with them. But the thing is, those sleeves on the kids' arms put them in touch with the Transformers mentally. So they know how the Transformers are feeling, the Transformers know how the humans are feeling, and they get this like deeper level of like friendship and companionship. And they talk to each other like they're brother and sister, like all of them, like the Transformers and the humans. They feel like they are in the same family, which I think is a pretty cool approach. Having this mental connection and having the Transformers constantly checking in with the kids and the kids constantly checking in with the Transformers, it gives a lot of good dialogue points to talk about how situations make you feel and about what you feel as a person and how you relate to others. So I think that's a really cool avenue. And also having a brand new breed of Transformers that doesn't have anything to do with Cybertron or anything like that. Like they are just brand new. They like were just quote unquote born. And so they're kind of learning how to transform. They're learning how to be. It's a pretty cool premise. I really like the premise a lot. I mean, again, definitely a family show, definitely a kid's show. It's on Nickelodeon, so know what you're getting into. But this is a pretty fucking cool remix of Transformers, mythology, and I'm kind of down with it. It's a little bit saccharine at times, but there's been some pretty cool notes. There's been a lot of laughs. I really like the new characters a lot. Twitch and Thrash are the new Transformers, and they are quickly becoming favorites. They have a lot of personality. The voice actors do a great job. The voice of Optimus Prime is Alan Tudyk, and the voice of Bumblebee is Danny Pudi from Community. So there's some recognizable voices. They do a good job, and I think this is just a new kind of Transformers series that I'm really into. So I'm liking it so far. I'm definitely liking it. Definitely a thumbs up for sure. Final thing to mention this week is I saw The Substance, brand new-ish movie starring Demi Moore. She just won a Golden Globe for this performance. This was a pretty wild one. I liked it. I'm not going to say it was like an unqualified win for me, but I definitely liked it. The premise I hear is that Demi Moore is a TV star who is getting older in this show. She's like pretty close to her normal age of 60 or something like that, 60, 62 or whatever she is. I mean, honestly, she looks great for her age. Absolutely. But, in Hollywood standards, she's like a dinosaur. So she's on her way out, loses her show. She starts spiraling into depression. And then she gets this note saying that there is a substance which can help her create a brand new you. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but basically what the substance does is like when you inject it into yourself, it creates it's not a clone, but it's like a second version of you. So it's a younger, more perfect, idealized version of you. It's not a twin. It looks different than you. But it's supposed to be like, if you were your perfect self and young again, this is like who you would be. So it's kind of like a second version of you, and you have to switch back and forth between the body. The mind goes back and forth between the body. So you have to spend 1 week in the new body and do whatever you want to do, like go out, raise hell, have sex with a bunch of people, drink, party, whatever you want to do because you're young. And then at the end of your week, you got to switch back to the old body, and then you're like chilling at home because you're 60 again, your bones hurt, you're tired, and all that stuff. And so that's the basic premise. I'm not going to get too far into it, but it's a cool premise. And I will say there were multiple instances in this movie where I fucking recoiled from the screen being like, oh my God, I'm going to hurl. This is so gross. There's definitely some body horror happening that is just really, really cringe inducing, especially if you don't like needles. Oh my God. I was just like on the edge of my fucking couch, just being like, oh, I can't watch this. It was really, a couple moments were pretty tough. So I think the basic premise is cool. Demi Moore like makes the movie. I don't know that this movie would be a good movie without Demi Moore, because she is so brave. And I mean, she's naked as fuck, like tons in this movie. She is just like absolutely naked for a lot of it, showing every inch of her 62-year-old body. And I'm just like, damn, girl, you are so brave for getting out there and like just like taking all your clothes off, and just, she does a great job acting in this. I think she really just fucking kills the role. It's really great. The actress who plays her clone is also really good too, and I forget her name at the moment. Pardon me, sorry about that. But she does a great job too. And Dennis Quaid plays a director who is just fucking gross. He just oozes like toxic masculinity, so he totally kills it. So that's good too. I will say though, it's a tad more art house than I enjoy. There are a few moments that are just very like immersion breaking kind of moments where they pivot to be like, this is an art house movie, and they take you away from what's going on. I didn't appreciate those very much, because I get that there's a message. I get the director's trying to say something. Like, it couldn't be more clear. So you really didn't have to go like 10 steps more towards this is a message in this movie. Like, it really kind of disrupted it for me. I will say also, the visual style is really stark, and like long hallways that are empty, and bare white walls that have nothing on them. And the whole thing just feels very artificial in a way that's, I mean, obviously intended, but it didn't quite work for me. I think if I had my druthers, I would have just brought the whole thing down to earth just like one notch to make it just like that much more believable. But it still is a very cool movie. It was really gross. Demi Moore killed it. And I was glad I watched it. It's a little bit too long though. I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It does not need to be. It could be a really good 2 hours, maybe even like an hour 45. That would have been fine. There's definitely a few scenes you could have cut. So you got to be ready for like kind of the long haul with this one. I don't quite know that it deserves all that much time, but I am glad I watched it. It is really killer, and it was just gross, and it's an artistic horror movie that I think is probably going to, I don't know, be grossing me out for a time to come. Every time I think about it, I'm still grossed out. So there you go. That was The Substance. And folks, that's also a show. Before the closing music, I would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, wherever that is these days. I don't even know what's good anymore. And most important of all, please recommend So Videogames to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, I do want to get your questions and comments. Please hit me up in the So Videogames Discord, which is free of charge. You can also email me directly at sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach me on social media. You can find me on Bluegram and Instasky. No. Instagram and Blue Sky for now anyway. My handle is the same wherever you go. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. And if you'd like to support the show and help with the running of this podcast, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Videogames Podcast. Every dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. And like I said earlier, if you want to join the So Videogames Discord, absolutely free of charge. Just drop me a line through any of the channels I just mentioned, and we will get you on board to continue the conversation. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 424. Thank you so much for joining me here on the So Videogames Podcast, and I'll see you next week.